Thank you for listening to the BjjBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to help you get the most out of your grappling ability and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back to the BjjBrick Podcast. This is episode 367. Today we're talking about Michael Jordan's rules for success, and we're translating those into jiu-jitsu related themes to help us on the mat as well.
Michael who?
Michael Jordan. He's a basketball player, fairly famous. I think he played in the NBA. So we'll have to Google that.
It's often been said that Byron Jabara is the Michael Jordan of the jiu-jitsu scene, so that's why we're covering this today.
Nobody has said that. That was Joe giving me a little hard time about being Michael Jordan, and the voice before you heard Gary. Together, we're the three amigos of the BjjBrick Podcast here. We're going to have a good time. I'd like to start this off with a quote. This is from Tim Howard, not a basketball player, I guess a soccer player. Tim says, I'll call him Timmy. Timmy says, winning is fun, but those moments that you can touch someone's life in a very positive way are much better. And I think that is kind of important to remember. The winning moment is pretty much that. It's a moment. It's maybe a day or a weekend. And some people could, ride these big accomplishments for quite a while. But really, they come and go. If you're able to help your teammate out or help out, pick up somebody who's having a hard time off the mat and help them dust themselves off and do a little bit better long term, that's going to last a lifetime. Guys, what do you guys think about this quote?
I think it gets more true the older you get, for sure. I think about the last 3 or 4 years that I've been grappling, and on the mats when we're training, I definitely, like, if I see a young guy pull something off that I've been encouraging him to work on, that to me, I feel as much satisfaction as if I pull something off that I've been working on a long time. And the older you get, you have young guys come to you for advice, both on and off the mat advice. And so I would agree. That's one of the things that keeps me on the mats.
Yep, that's good. And a little bit of a pause there means Gary has nothing to input on this. No, I think we've all been there where you actually get a bigger reward from watching somebody you've helped do better. That's a cool feeling. So, Joe, I think we've lost Gary. We did lose Gary.
So that pause didn't mean that
he was going to win the internet with that one. Let's just keep steamrolling this thing, and we'll see if Gary pops back in. And we have a bit of a time constraint today, and we'll see where we get Gary picked up in here in a minute. But Joe, you have an off the mat lesson that Gary is going to be regretting missing.
Well, yeah, I learned something from one of my dogs a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
I don't know if I learned it from my dogs, but I've got two dogs at home, Meatloaf and Porthos. And Meatloaf is a black lab mix, and Porthos is a wiener dog mix. And they've both been pretty satisfied living in the backyard. For the last, we've had those two dogs for 6 or 7 years. But, man, we had a rainstorm a couple weeks ago, and it got really muddy. And the wiener dog figured out he could dig under the fence in the mud. And once he figured out he could escape, it was on. And so, I went and I poured some cement in the one mud hole that he dug. And then he just found another hole to dig. And it got time for me to go back to work. And he's still one step ahead of me digging these holes. And so I told my wife, I said, let's not just chase one hole after another. I said, just keep him in the house while I'm at work. And when I come home, I'll have a plan. And so went to work.
I'm excited. I'm excited about the plan. The good news is Gary's back on the line as well. Gary, he's telling us about his dog that's digging under his fence in the mud.
I like it.
How you doing, Gary? Well, welcome to the show.
I'm just a little late.
You were here earlier. And, yep, we're back. Okay, Joe or Gary, well, good to have you back. You didn't miss much other than this story has me on the edge of my seat. I paid for the whole seat. I'm only going to need the edge.
So, yeah, the little wiener dog Porthos is digging holes and getting out from underneath the fence. And I told the wife, I said, just keep him in the house for a couple of weeks and I'll come up with a plan. And so went to work and I thought about it. And I thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home and I bought chicken wire. And I zip tied it to the bottom 3 inches of the fence or so, and then that left about a foot of it laying down on the ground inside the fence. And I covered that up with mulch, and the grass will grow up through it and around it. I took where the gate closed. That wasn't meeting up very well, and that was a potential spot for him to escape, and he had discovered that also. So I took a come along, and I brought that back up to upright, and I added another little post in there, and put cement underneath the gate so that when he tried, and then put dirt on top of that, and I got more satisfaction than I should probably watching him dig through the dirt and then find the cement. It's like, dang it. And of course, where the fence meets the corners of the house was a potential spot for him to escape, and I put some extra fencing in there too, so there was zero opportunity for him to escape. And so far it hasn't been a problem since then. And I got to thinking about, it's kind of a rookie mistake, but oftentimes in other areas of our life, we do that one problem at a time. You know, if you're a salesman, it's like you lose a sale for whatever reason, so I got to fix that. Then you lose the next sale for whatever reason, so I got to fix that. And the same is true in jiu-jitsu. It's kind of a rookie mistake, but I think we all do it early on. You decide you've been playing top game a lot and you want to develop your guard. And so you start playing guard, maybe butterfly guard and De La Riva guard, and you keep getting passed with one particular pass. So you go to your coach, you say, hey, how do I prevent the knee slice pass? You go online and you look up some tutorials, and as soon as you start preventing that, they're going the other direction with a different pass. So then you go online and you go to YouTube and you start looking at that, and as soon as you learn how to prevent that pass, they start doing a leg drag. And you can just chase this down the rabbit hole forever. And in the long run, you'll get better quicker, I think, if you would start to focus on, when I'm playing guard, how do I control distance? How do I control my opponent's posture? What are the grips that I want to have? When they start to pass my guard, how do I recover my guard? How do I switch between guards? You come up with a strategy to maintain guard as opposed to just chasing an individual problem. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, that's I really enjoyed the entire story. I enjoyed your problem solving, and then you started to bring it back to jiu-jitsu. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got to actually make this fit jiu-jitsu a little bit. And the whole, like, I just enjoyed the story by itself. I'm picturing this little wiener dog tunneling. Like, wiener dogs are naturally good at tunneling because their shape suits tunnels well, right? You got to think that
it's what they do, man. I mean,
and then I was like, what's Porthos? Like, I googled that. That's one of the Three Musketeers.
Well, that's not who we named him after.
Okay,
that is also Captain Archer's dog on Star Trek Enterprise.
No,
that's who he's named after.
I did not know that either. So is he the one with the pointy ears?
Yeah, Porthos does have pointy ears. Actually.
Oh, got it. Oh man.
But yeah, I'm sure that's why these instructionals over the last 10 years or so that market themselves as being systems have become so popular, because it just makes more sense to approach things with a strategy than just pick positions and techniques at random.
That's true. And that's a better way of just grappling. You have a system to work within that it flows better. You feel less lost. You feel like you can get within that system, and then you're working. You have, even if you're not like at the end of the system, you're working within it and you're working towards that goal. I like that. And so the other thing I was going to ask you, Could you trim his nails and he couldn't dig as well, or is that not really a thing? That's
I'm
what
not
he's
sure.
going to trim his nails. It's going to be hilarious.
I'm not sure if that's really a thing, but but he gets a look of frustration when he digs through the mulch and finds the chicken wire. So
How much concrete did you pour in this process?
Oh, not very much.
Okay.
I just
in spots?
underneath the. Initially I poured 2 or 3 holes, and then it's like, I could be doing this for a month. So.
Oh man.
Well, I always thought it was funny when I rolled with Joe. Every time I either tapped him out or passed his guard, he gave me a dog biscuit, and I never knew why. And it's starting to make sense.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, Joe. It always, reinforced when I did something good. So I appreciate that.
I also carry a little chicken wire in my gym bag.
Oh, that's funny. You're all set up. A wise grappler has a little bit of chicken wire ready to go. If you're new to grappling, not quite the wise grappler yet, you might check out a audiobook called Your First Year of BJJ. There's a link to the shop in the show notes, and there you'll see the audiobook. It's by yours truly. It's $11.99. The money goes, it helps support the podcast. It's was about 2.5 hours long, and it's just, I walk you through all the things you're going to likely to experience and all the hurdles and all the it's about 2 hours long. I'm sorry, 2 hours, 8 minutes, 27 seconds. I'm looking at it. That's the no, it's 2.5. Man, I'm all over the place. That's when the last chapter starts. But I it's just, I find myself in these conversations with new grapplers, and I just want them to know this, and then you should be aware of this, and then this is going to happen, and this technique is not going to be really good use of your time right now. And I just put them all in one file, and it's an audio file. I look best in audio, and there you go. If you're brand new, or even with 6 months, 9 months, it'll save you some time. It'll save you some heartache on some of your education on the mats there. So check it out. There'll be a link to the shop on the show notes, and there you'll find it. Guys, we've got the topic of the day, and we'll see how this goes because we haven't discussed any of these yet amongst ourselves. And I first saw a meme that Justin Rader posted, a picture with like an infographic is a better way to describe it, with Michael Jordan's 10 rules for success. I'm like, this is cool. And then Justin added, help others was on there as the 11th rule. And that's awesome. And then, so I go to Google it and I found these, and they were worded a little bit differently than the infographic had. But he's definitely a character, or character's probably not the word, a person that we could learn from in the sports world, and that a lot of these should just be able to be pulled right into jiu-jitsu. His first rule is keep working hard. In order to be the best, you simply have to outwork the others, and this is especially true when it comes to sports. And I'm sure Michael Jordan could have played some pretty good basketball with minimal effort. Like some people are just that way. Could he have been the best of the best? No. He had to work very hard to get to that next level. And I think you see that in jiu-jitsu, and I know we've all seen this. You see somebody who comes in fairly new, and they pick it up easier than we did, whereas I did. And it's like, oh, I had to really work on that armbar for 3 months before it really clicked. And here they are on the second day, they're really threatening me with this armbar. That's just, they're a little different than me, which is perfectly fine. But still, put their hard work behind that, and they'll be that much further along. You have to work hard. If Michael Jordan's saying work hard, you got to work hard.
Well, that's what Jordan was known for. You talk to those guys on the Dream Team, Magic and Larry and all them, and they just rave about Michael's work ethic and never wanting to stop, won't accept losing, just gives it everything he's got. And like you said, he could probably play basketball with minimal effort, and he would still be very good. But putting that extra effort in, and I mean, I hate to say it, I don't remember the grade, but I think he got cut. Was it JV basketball or was it 11th grade he got cut? From his high school team or JV team. And he worked hard, came back, and, next thing you know, he gets a scholarship to the University of North Carolina, and the rest is history. And, he just outworks people.
Yeah, and you see those things about somebody who gets cut from their team and they end up being one of the best ever or whatever, and you think that coach made a mistake. Maybe not. Maybe the cut was justified. He wasn't that good when he got cut. That's kind of what I typically assume, is not that the coach missed something, that the talent had yet to be developed, the hard work had yet to be put into it.
I like that point. I was going to disagree with you and say maybe he wasn't working hard, but I like where you're going from it. Maybe he didn't have that, skill level yet, and he hadn't developed it yet, and he put that time into it. Especially in those days, it's not where you specialized in one sport and played year-round and had trainers year-round. He's a great baseball player, too, to play professional baseball, so he probably played baseball, basketball, and football.
Great might be a little bit of an exaggeration.
Hey, no, I don't. I think anybody who can play in the minor leagues is great. Baseball player,
if you word it that way.
Yeah,
I know they say hitting a good fastball from a professional pitcher is like one of the most difficult things to do in sports.
No, what's even harder?
Triple axel on ice skating.
Nope, hitting a pitch thrown by Byron, because it doesn't come anywhere near the plate.
Bring your golf club.
You can't even get your bat close enough to hit that thing.
Or I hit you in the shoulder.
My shoulder does hurt.
Well, there we go.
Well, there's no question though that talent and an acquisition of skills is also very helpful. I like the quote, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard."
Yeah,
I love it.
So hard work plus talent is the best, but maybe you're not the most talented person in the world. You can still rise to a high level if you're willing to put in the work.
I love the guys. I know your quote there, but I love the people who don't necessarily have the talent, but work hard, show up every day, have a great attitude, study film, and become pretty darn good players. That I really love to see that. And, and that goes back to, this point right here, outwork everybody. And I know we're talking about jiu-jitsu, basketball, baseball, whatever sport, but it also takes precedent in life, your work. And like if you've ever seen Joe cut his yard, it's speed cutting. Joe actually runs when he cuts his yard. He outworks all his neighbors.
Man, I got a ride mower, Gary.
Joe pushes it. Joe puts it in neutral
impressive.
And pushes it. And he puts a weighted vest on, and he doesn't just push it. He does shots across his yard while he's pushing it.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Hey, but Gary, I wanted to comment seriously on something you said about the guys that aren't the most talented but work really hard. And I wanted to say how when the talented guys work really hard, how that becomes contagious. And when you look at the teams that Michael Jordan won with, there was a bunch of guys like Dennis Rodman who were minimally talented but just worked their asses off.
Rodman was incredible, just like you said, his work ethic. And
I mean, if there was a loose ball on the court, he was going to get it. Yep,
he was going to get it.
And I think that comes from being inspired by the best guy on the team working as hard as he expected everybody else to work.
Joe, that's a great point. And so you think about it. Let's take a Dennis Rodman, a Steve Kerr, a Bill Paxson, Cartwright, one of those guys who weren't the best players in the NBA. Like you said, were role players. But then all of a sudden you look at the best player maybe to ever play pro basketball, and he's outworking everybody. What is that going to do to you? Here you are, you're an average player, and you're watching this guy, and you're saying, what do I got to do to keep my contract, to keep playing for these Bulls? I got to try to work as hard as Michael. And like you said, I could see that. If you're in a really competitive gym and you have, those guys, the best guy in there outworking everybody. Everybody's going to follow suit, and it's going to be contagious.
Man, and I got the right guys on here for this basketball conversation because I'm over my head already. But that does make sense. So if coach is just working his butt off on the mat, or if some of your upper belts or you see that, and they're not just lazily coasting through the class, but no, they're working hard. They're putting in and continuing to perfect their craft. That's got to be motivating. His number 2 rule, Joe, what's that?
Ignite the fire. And I'm not sure if these are all direct quotes from Michael Jordan or not, but it talks about being passionate. It talks about, is passion 100% necessary to be successful? Maybe not, but it seems like the most passionate people are the most successful, and they enjoy the success the most. And so yeah, and I would say that in any endeavor like jiu-jitsu that takes a long time, I don't think the ignite the fire is a one-time thing. I think it's not uncommon for people to hit the doldrums, hit some plateaus, and you kind of have to look for some things that will get you excited again. Maybe it's competing, maybe it's you've been doing no gi forever and you want to start. You try working in the gi for a while. I don't know. It could be different for everybody, but I don't think this is a one-time thing.
Joe, passion. We're talking about Michael Jordan, and you said something about, sometimes maybe you got to reignite that passion, maybe, enter a tournament. And it's kind of the same thing with Michael there. I know it had a lot to do with when his, dad got murdered, but he ended up, quitting basketball for a little while and went to play pro baseball, minor league baseball, and ended up coming back to the NBA and was still incredible. But I wonder, if that had something to do with it. The passion wasn't there without his dad cheering him on and coming to the games.
Yeah. I thought of this one for jiu-jitsu anyway, Ignite the Fire. We all have a certain kind of underlying interest and passion for jiu-jitsu. And as the years go by on the mats, it's just kind of what you do. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do jiu-jitsu, and you go train and you do it. But occasionally, you'll maybe go to a seminar or you pick up some new system or a couple of techniques, and it's like, man, this is different type of grappling. This is new for me. This is fun. This is exciting. And that's, for me, when I start to get passionate, I think about it before bed. I think about it while I'm driving. I obviously think about it on the mat. I start thinking about jiu-jitsu a lot more. That's like when you think of ignite the fire of passion, is when it's just kind of always on my mind, versus I go and I haven't thought about jiu-jitsu since I left. I go back and I train and I leave and I'll think about it again when I show up again. But if I find something that I'm passionate about on the mats, a certain choke or something, or a sweep that's really fun to hit, then that's when I've ignited my passion, and I just get so much more, not just enjoyment, but I get more development out of it, because I'm trying to work things out in my head in a different way, and trying to really discover as much as I can about that system or that technique. And I always encourage people, even though if it's not the best move for you, if you're, if you got a few holes in your game, if you're passionate about something, that's definitely worth lighting that passion.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're talking about Gary. I've noticed more enthusiasm in Gary over the last year or two as he's gotten more into the stand-up and takedown and wrestling game. That's not typical for a guy in his 50s to pursue that, but, man, that seems to have reignited a passion in Gary.
Joe, I was going to ask Byron a question like, hey, do you guys feel like, sometimes your passion wanes? And I was about to say, I've never ran into that issue except earlier in my career, and I think it was a bad fit, and I just had to figure something out. I just was dreading coming to jiu-jitsu, and ever since I made a change, I never have really waned. with jiu-jitsu. But, and I didn't think of your point though, Joe, but I think once I started doing, I think I had a couple little things. One was starting to work leg locks, which back in the day were taboo. And the other, now more recently, the last, few years is really just working wrestling. And, I told a story a little bit earlier today about with these guys off air that I pulled a muscle in my calf last night playing racquetball, and I was going to do 2 hours of takedowns today, 100%, full blast. And I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to work stand up and was just going to have to, start on the mat. And I ended up, being able to do it. But I remember I was a little disappointed thinking, oh darn, I got to do that. I'm going to have to start on the ground. But one other thing, another thing about passion is when I came to train there this morning, it was kind of neat. My training partner comes up to me and says, man, I love Saturday mornings. I just love being able to train. And, I know that person's like that all the time. And I always look forward to days that I already have planned to be able to train.
Isn't that contagious when your training partners are excited to be there?
I was excited to be there, but I had never really had anybody ever just come up to me, slap hands, and say, man, I'm so glad it's Saturday. I can't wait to train. And those were exact words, and it really did get me going. So then I threw up a flying triangle, landed on my head, and knocked myself out.
The whole thing was a dream. Gary, what's the next one down here? We're on number 3.
I hate to tell you, I don't have my phone with me.
Called him out. Gary's got Renegade.
The next one is be different, and I think we all exemplify that. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that I think jiu-jitsu is pretty easy to see this. Like, your teacher, and you're a coach, your instructor. I guess this is more. There's a difference between a coach and an instructor. They're all usually in jiu-jitsu filled by the same person. But to me, a coach is somebody who's helping you in a match or helping you, perform better in the moment. And an instructor is somebody who's teaching you the techniques. Your instructor might have a curriculum. It might be fairly, basic or fairly fundamental things. But after a while, you will mold jiu-jitsu into your own thing. You will find a technique that everybody else was exposed to, and it fit with you. And then you go down the rabbit hole of that technique, and you start to develop that. That's when it becomes an art form. That's when you start to personalize jiu-jitsu. And that's when you become a little different. And that's just a simple example of it. But if everyone in your gym does, this particular sweep, maybe try a different sweep. Maybe try a little something different. If everybody at the competition in your weight class does the same thing, sure, you need to know how to deal with that. But maybe bring a little something different, a little unexpected to the table or the mat or the court, and they'll have something that they're not used to dealing with. Yeah, being different is a competitive. That's a huge advantage.
Yeah, and I would add that there's an advantage to being different, like Byron said. But I would also add just don't be afraid to be different if, for whatever reason, that's your only option. Like if you're in a gym full of strong, young, competitive guys, and you're a 5'7" female that weighs 120 pounds, you're going to be different. So, don't try and put yourself into their mold. If you're an old dude, you're going to be different. Don't worry about it. Just approach jiu-jitsu on an individual level.
Yeah. That's and I appreciate. I was talking to my wife about this today. We were talking about somebody who's a little bit weird, a little bit just quirky, I guess is the word for it. And I was like, I like that person, huh?
You guys spend a lot of time talking about me.
But it's just like he'll say and do things that are just people wouldn't do that. That's why that's how you get funny stories or weird situations you end up in and nearly arrested. Who knows? Whatever. But it's just like
Joe's never been arrested.
He always escapes. No, but it's just that's being a little bit different. To me, always adds a little bit more fun to life, you know. And I do appreciate being around people who are a little bit different and just enjoying that person for who they are. And I also appreciate that in jiu-jitsu. If we're rolling and you're doing something a little bit weird, like what is it? Where's this go? I usually want to see where that goes. I don't always try to shut it down right away and try to just ignore that happening. It's like, let's see where this ends up, because this I might learn something cool here. So yeah, be different. That's good advice for competing. It's good advice overall. But anything I think you take too far. You could go in there and pull mount. That's different. And then get my chin up nice and high. That's different. Like, there's a reason why people don't do those things, because they're terrible ideas. Gives everybody my back. Hey, that's different. Yeah, you can go too far. Gary, the next one, I'll just feed it to you.
Oh, thank you.
Is fail your way to success. And in this one, it has the famous quote that you've probably heard, and this is Michael Jordan saying, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. And 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." MJ. So, back to the thing, fail your way to success.
Yeah, Gary, as somebody who's failed repeatedly.
No, I have. And I'm one of the biggest believers in this. And, you have to... And is it really failing? I don't necessarily call it failing. If I'm taking the game-winning shot and shoot an air ball, stuff happens. But what you have to do is keep an open mind. We're going to get tapped out. Today I tried a lateral drop, and, I didn't twist enough and ended up getting mounted. Who goes for a takedown and gets mounted? Stuff happens. But you have to try it. You have to work. You have to keep an open mind and work from there. Failure's good. Failure's good if we keep an open mind and we work for success.
So do you not do the lateral drop anymore, or do you dust it off next week and give it another shot?
Yeah, and a lateral drop's never been, one of my go-tos. And I've been working on it for the last probably month, and I hit maybe 2 out of 3, and then I've been mounted a couple times, but it's not going to stop me. I'm going to get it where I'm hitting 4 out of 5, I'm hitting 5 out of 5, and from there I'll keep going at it. Not going to stop, and figure out. What I do is try to figure out, reverse engineer it. What did I do wrong? Talk to some experts. I've kind of got a wrestling coach that I run a lot of stuff by, and talk things through. And the guy was a 4-time state champion and a 1-time national champion, Division II college, and he helps me out a lot. And that's the first thing I'm going to do is Monday. I'm going to talk to him and reenact some stuff.
Nice. One thing I like about what you're saying, Gary, is you're the type of guy that I don't think you actually think of anything that happens on the training mat as winning and losing. It's all learning. And I think that's a real key point here. But I also think in competition, if anybody's listening to this and they're a white belt or a blue belt and they've entered a few competitions and have not had the results that they're looking for, I don't think early results have a whole lot to do with the end result. I think I can't name names, but I know Byron interviewed a couple people early on in this podcast who were successful at brown and black belt and said, I didn't win a tournament until I was a purple belt. I know a kid that started competing when he was 13, 14 years old and competed 10 times that first year and didn't even score a single point. And, today he's a blue belt and, he's 18, 19 years old today. And he's seen plenty of success. But if he would have taken that first year and evaluated it, he would have said, I guess competing's not for me. So if you enjoy competing, if you like the idea of competing, your early success or failure doesn't have a lot to do with how things are going to look 5 or 8 years down the road.
Yeah, and Joe, you said you don't remember the names, but one of them that really stuck out to me, it was on the wrestling side, and Byron interviewed Adam Wheeler, and I think maybe you've interviewed him twice, but I know once. But for those of you guys who don't know, Adam Wheeler actually made the Olympic team for Greco, and if I remember correctly, he didn't win a single match his first year. And, those are cool stories to hear. Michael Jordan getting cut, Adam Wheeler not winning a match. And, you look at how successful these guys have become, not just on in their sport and life. And it's, like you said, it's not a failure. They're learning from it. They're progressing. They're working towards that end goal. And, what great role models, for youngsters to follow that. And like you said, Joe, maybe if, you took the time and thought about it, maybe you would have quit if you didn't, score a point, if you thought too much about winning or losing, if you didn't, win a match your first year. But, just, hey, I'm having fun. Let's keep learning. Let's keep going. And I'm going to get better each and every year. I know there's the quote, jiu-jitsu is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I say that all the time. I know Byron, you've been a black belt for a long time, and I guarantee you learn new stuff every week, every month, and you're never stopping learning, and I know Joe and I, we're in the same boat. We're always learning.
Part of that's because I forget a lot, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, where do you get to be Joe and I's age?
Speaking of which, Gary, don't you have a birthday coming up?
No, not at all, Joe.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Nope. Not at all. What really stinks is when you start getting in your 50s and you got a birthday coming up.
Yeah.
What's bad about that?
I'm getting a year older, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough for Gary being the oldest person on this podcast.
But it's the one thing I will not give up, because you guys can't work hard and surpass me at this. So, hey, maybe I'd take that, pretty good. No matter what you guys do, you guys can't surpass me.
Yep, I keep chasing you. I'm always like a week or two behind.
Yep, but I think if you didn't strap your lawnmower onto you, you might better catch me.
All right.
Oh man. So the next one here, let's go down the list. Have high expectations. And that's definitely something Michael Jordan had. And the quote in here, I don't know if it's Michael Jordan quote, but it just fits this. It's like, most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, because they aim too low and hit it. Man, that's that kind of hits.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my mom used to say this all the time. It's always stuck with me. If you aim for nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, have a goal, have high expectations. For most of us, I don't think this means high expectations as in I'm going to be a champion or anything of that nature, but it's more like I'm going to train 3 times a week. I'm going to enter 3 tournaments a year if, competing is your thing. I think those are the expectations that are actually going to pay higher dividends.
Yeah. This high expectations, it reminds me of a quote. I pulled it up here. It's by Bill Gates. I think he was, I don't think he was on Jordan's team, but maybe he might have been the coach that cut Michael Jordan. Actually, who knows who Bill Gates is?
I think he owned a computer store in Wichita or something.
I'm pretty sure he was into basketball.
Okay.
Keep it on theme here, Joe. No, Bill Gates said that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And just to kind of play this out maybe a little bit easier, just think of it, jiu-jitsu, people overestimate what they could do in a week and underestimate what they could do in a month or in a year. Like, you go in there having like, I'm going to do this week, or I'm going to get this much better this week. And sometimes it happens, but a lot of times just overestimated what's actually possible to do in a week. But if you keep at it, you keep that work ethic, and you work hard, you would be shocked what getting 2 or 3% better, per week or per day actually ends up looking like at the end of the year, at the end of the 10 years on Bill Gates' scale. But that's pretty long.
Byron, I have never heard that quote, and that could actually now be one of my favorite quotes. I love that one.
Did Bill Gates just win the internet from me?
No.
Okay.
No, you won the internet. No, you get credit for that.
No, it doesn't. I really do like that quote. I had never heard that, and these guys always laugh at me because they throw out quotes and I don't understand any of them. They're like, "Hey, Gary, what do you think about the quote?" "Oh, it's a great quote." "What do you think, Byron?" My mind doesn't think like that, but this quote hits the way I feel spot on, and I am going to steal that quote from Michael Jordan's JV coach, Bill Gates.
Computer software coach. Yeah, it's just hard to look out that far and then realize what could be done in a bigger span of time. But it's easy to look close and feel like you could. I mean, it kind of maybe it goes against what have high expectations. Have high expectations for that 1 year, but what can you do in 10? It would blow your mind away as far as what you can actually do if you stay focused and you work hard for 10 years straight. That's insane. That's a lot of time. So it's hard to look at it from that perspective. But if you just work hard and just kind of nose to the grindstone, don't think about it, don't worry about how much you're improving today or this week, and just try to get a little bit better each time and train, you'll be shocked what happens after several years roll by. Gary, I'm going to throw this one to you because it...
Sweet. Is it a quote?
It's number 6.
Okay.
So you want to read it?
Yes.
Okay. Here's my voice. I'm Gary. Number 6 is be positive. Do you not consider yourself a positive person? Then find positive people in your community and stick around them. Positivity is contagious. And if you hang out with positive people, then you will become positive as well.
Wow, that didn't sound like my voice at all.
Oh.
I another one I love right there is be positive.
You're a positive guy.
I love, and you're talking about hanging out with positive people, and everybody always asks me why I never go down to the break room and eat my lunch, and what happens to me every time I go down to the break room? There's always
somebody beats you up and takes your lunch money.
Well, they always get a little confused when I pull guards. So, yeah. But no, I'm a firm believer in this. I hate going down to the break room because there's always somebody complaining about, I don't get paid enough money. Joe Biden did this, Donald Trump did this. And to be honest, it puts me in a bad mood. It just... hearing negative thoughts. I'm not a big person of watching the news. I know a lot of people love to watch the news. I watch high school sports on the news. That's about it. And it puts me in a bad mood if I just hear negative stuff all over again. And so, I like to hang out with positive people. And, I just talked about that one training partner from this morning. I can tell you Byron was there this morning. And, Byron's always laughing and joking, and we were joking about him shaving his legs and stuff like that. But, just hanging out and telling jokes and hanging out with positive people, it's a good thing. And I know Byron was saying him and Becky were talking today about somebody who's, not the most positive or quirky person. But, we're also talking, me, Byron, and Becky, about, people. And, we brought up a person who's always in a bad mood, and do you want to hang out with that person? And I don't know, it's not gonna put me in a good mood for learning. If some of my training partners have bad attitudes and Byron's trying to teach me something, I'm not going to be as receptive to learning. So hang out with positive people, be positive.
Yeah, I like that. Hang out with positive people. At the end of this here, it says, "Don't consider yourself a positive person. Then find positive people in your community and stick around them." whether it's positivity, whether it's creativity, whether it's work ethic, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you're trying to become more like, the people that you hang out with, that's who you're going to become. So, find the guys in your gym that are working hard. Find the guys in your gym or people in your gym that are positive, and surround yourself with those people.
So you're saying go to COVID positive people and hang out with them, and it's contagious.
It is contagious. You'll catch it in a heartbeat unless you're wearing 2 masks, and then you'll be just fine.
Oh man, no, that's I do. So I mean, this one in particular. Once you get to know people, once you get to know your teammates, and you obviously know your family members and those sort of things, you know who's positive and who's not. Who could take a flat tire and it ruins their week, and who could take a flat tire and they have a funny story about how they got a flat tire doing this, and then this happened, and then it's hilarious. Like, those are 2 different people altogether. But people sometimes have crappy times. Like, you can have a crappy day, a week, a month, whatever. Like, and it's hard sometimes. Like, if that positive person is having a hard time, there's usually a legitimate reason that's beyond a flat tire or a rough day at work. And just note that, and it's really helpful for somebody to check on me. You're doing all right, man, or just a little check on somebody when they don't seem quite right, and they're usually a very positive. If Gary came in this morning to grapple and he yelled at me, I wouldn't take it as I did something wrong to Gary. I'm like, man, something's wrong with Gary. What's happening, man? And I don't know if I'm the right guy to talk to him if he's yelling at me, but I'll give Gary the benefit of the doubt because I've known him for so long and he doesn't yell at me. But like something's up, and I don't like that. Like I want him to not have whatever that trouble he's going through. I like to help him out or whatever. Does that make sense? Like, you can't just just say be positive. It's kind of a generic thing. Everybody's going to have some rough times from here to for whatever reason, but know their personality. And if they're positive people, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be perfect. And if they're not, now's the time for you to be a good friend.
Yeah. And I can tell you, we go back to that scenario you just posted. I know for a fact if I did snap at Byron or Becky or Joe, I know you guys would come to me and you would be the good friend and, hey, man, what's going on? And so let's just say I'm in a bad mood. Something happened. Who knows what it was? And I snap and, a good friend of mine comes over. It's like, hey, what's going on? We talk for a few minutes. That person will then change my attitude. Just the act of asking me what's wrong, lending a helping ear, it's gonna, move my happiness meter up. And like Byron said, that's when you need to be a good friend.
Yeah, Joe, do you have the list in front of you? I hesitate even to ask.
He's a good student.
You want to take number
the next
7?
one is, be who you were born to be. And we had one earlier that was be different. And I think these are kind of interrelated. So you see every now and then on social media, do you have to compete to get good at jiu-jitsu, or do you have to do this, or do you have to do that? And the answer unequivocally, in my opinion, is no, you don't have to do anything. Be who you were born to be. And if you were born to be a competitor and you have a wrestling background and that's your thing, then go ahead and embrace it. And if you want to come in and enjoy the social aspect of it and the camaraderie, and you want to train 2 or 3 days a week and make some new friends, embrace that too. And if you can't quite get to X guard because your legs are fat and stubby and don't bend right, just ask your coach for some tips, and you'll be able to figure out a way to make it work. So,
or play butterfly guards.
Ding, 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 ding. We have an internet winner. We had it.
We don't all fit in the same mold, right, Gary?
Yeah. Yep. What I really loved is I almost think, Byron, you need to put that on your beginning jiu-jitsu audiobook. And you know what I think some people think is they have to compete, or they can't just come 2 days a week for the social aspects. And we're all unique individuals with all different goals and whys of why we're actually doing jiu-jitsu. And sometimes we read the forums on the interwebs and says you have to compete, you have to have at least one MMA fight, you have to do this, you have to do that. Anybody who just shows up once a week and just, trains for camaraderie. I know people who just show up and don't even spar. They just, do the drilling part. And we're all unique individuals. Do what makes you happy and is going to make you get towards your end goal. And I love what you said there, Joe. I think some people may not start this sport because, they think I have to do this, I have to do that. But we're unique individuals, and we don't have to do anything we don't want to.
Yeah. But don't be afraid to, for lack of a better example, like taste the weird vegetable or try to slip down that weird clam thing that might be cooked or not.
Ding, ding, ding. Byron, you won too.
I get a consolation prize.
Yeah. Step out of your comfort zone a little time. I love what Joe said, but, Byron, you just killed it too. So, be comfortable. Be happy with what you're doing and do what you want. But, don't be afraid. Like you said, step out of your comfort zone every now and then. Maybe it'll be entering a tournament. Maybe it'll be taking the gi off and going no gi. Maybe for somebody like me, it'll be putting the gi on. Try some different things. And I think it'll make you, how do I say it? Like, I can go by me. And, I was saying, earlier in my career, I wasn't as happy and I didn't look forward to jiu-jitsu like I do now. And, I got rid of the gi. I didn't like the gi as much. And for me, it's all about having fun. And, once I went no gi and Byron, you were one of the big people I talked to, on a couple things. And, Byron did say that, be yourself. We didn't talk about venturing outside, but he said, be yourself. Don't worry about what other people expect. And, that was one of the things that helped me.
You took it as I was flirting with you, but hey.
Well, I thought it was kind of weird. Like, we won't even go down that path.
All right. Yeah, man, I don't know why I did that to myself.
Yeah, that was great, Byron and Joe. I appreciate you both.
Well, right. I got to thank Byron, because when people come to me for advice and they start conversations in the future, don't be afraid to taste the weird vegetable. Is going to be a go-to for me. That was good, Byron.
When you eat, yeah.
I said that in a seedy part of town to somebody who was on the corner, at the intersection, and I got arrested. So,
I thought you were going to say you made $20.
Sometimes the weird vegetable is like a goat testicle that you thought was a vegetable, and now you've had that. We've all been there.
All right.
Nobody else, huh? Just me. Okay. Number 8, Gary, take number 8. Yeah, no problem. I'll get number 8.
I got
it. Have a vision.
It's hard when you get older because we wear glasses and we can't see as well. So having a vision. See, this is another one. Like, me having a vision. Like, what does that mean? For me, it's like, goal setting. Where do I want to take my jiu-jitsu? What do I want to, do in life, with jiu-jitsu? And have a vision where it's going to take me. If that's the way we're going to talk about this, I don't know if I do believe it, but sometimes I just like to just show up and have fun. There are times I'm working on stuff, but there's some days I guess that's a vision. Have fun. So, yeah, have a vision, guys.
That's good, Gary. I think everybody's vision is unique to them, and I think you nailed it, man. You knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
but I didn't win.
Is that a basketball saying? Can you knock it out of the park?
Well, you at least hit the rim on a half court.
No, though, if you're Dikembe Mutombo, you were knocking balls into the stands, which is close to being knocking out of the park.
Oh, that's
that
nice.
guy was awesome.
Yeah.
So about this one, having a vision, and Gary's slight conflict with it personally, we're not Michael Jordan. We're not trying to be Michael Jordan.
But some people are.
Yeah, that's true. So if you have that, you definitely need that vision. If you want to get that gold medal at a regional or national or international competition, whatever, you got to have that vision driving you. You got to have that. It might, like, what do I need to do? Okay, you know what? I'm going to spend 3 weeks at this gym and get coaching from these people because my footlock game is lacking. Okay, now what do I need to do? I need to go, develop this part of my game. I need to get in the best shape. You need to have that vision pushing you that I guess normal people sometimes don't have. But I mean, you occasionally have used the idea of having a vision to your advantage to get a career or, get married. You don't get married without having a vision in your mind of what it's going to be like in the future. But for jiu-jitsu, I think all three of us kind of fit in a similar mode. It's really fun. It is also a good way to get in shape. And that's kind of what we're using it for now. Now, might that change in the future? Might we become even older grapplers who retire from our jobs and want something exciting to happen, and maybe we hit the mats and compete at that, outside of our prime grappling years. Who knows? But and maybe it could also be
prime years.
What was that?
Have we ever had prime years?
No. Checkmate, Gary. You got me. And I'll stop making excuses about my lack of a prime years. That's number 9 is stop making excuses. Excuses take you nowhere.
I want to touch back on 8 real quick. Somebody made a post on Facebook the other day about their first match as a master in the Masters division, and they posted their birthday, and I was like, holy crap, you're younger than my oldest son, and you're in the Masters division. And I got to thinking about it was 5 or 6 years ago, I think. I was in a gym training, and it was between matches. I'm sitting on the mat leaning up against the wall, and I'm looking at these kids all in their early 20s, and I'm thinking, I'm old enough to be all y'all's dad. And part of my vision at this point is it's going to be a few years from now where I'm going to be in a gym and I'm going to be giving people competitive roles, and I'm going to look across the gym and say, I'm old enough to be all y'all's grandpa.
Man, that's cool.
That's awesome. You don't make excuses. You have a vision. You're positive. We can go down every one of these things, and that's you, Joe. And that's why you're there. And that's a cool feeling. But I got to tell you a little quick story. Is my department at work. We've got 20 people in there. But we've got this young lady who's an intern. Goes to local college here, and she's an intern. And the majority of the people, that work, on my team, our team there, they've all been here 20 years. We got a lot of service in our group, and I'm still the oldest. But so I'm talking to this lady, find out she was saying how her mom was 40 years old, and I just started laughing, and she's like, why are you laughing? I was like, I'm about ready to be 14 years older than your mom. It's like, like that was just, that's when you're starting to get old.
Yep. I don't know how to. Oh, Gary, that's funny.
Yeah. But then she said, geez, I thought you were only in your 30s.
There you go.
And I was like, well, we did year-end reviews, a couple of weeks ago. You're a little late for that.
Yeah. It's always awkward to be like, yeah, I was doing something, and this older guy was doing this. And like, well, how old? Well, about your age. It's like, dang it. Oh, man.
I've got to the point, like I call everybody a kid nowadays. Hey, he's 35 years old. You're a kid, and kind of crazy.
But you know what? You don't use your age as an excuse, Gary.
No. It's. I personally think I am much better today at jiu-jitsu than I was 5 years ago, than I was 1 year ago. And I know there will be a point, when the cane gets in the way and, I have some issues and,
Is that what you call it?
Not be as good. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you call it. I wish. I've never heard that before.
When the toothpick gets in the way.
I've heard that a lot. That's never a cane.
So I was alluding earlier about you not making excuses. That's number 9, is stop making excuses. And I remember doing a tournament back in the day. We all hop in a vehicle and 5 or 6 of us drive down somewhere for a day and go to a tournament and come back. And one guy, he got opening match. It didn't go well, and it happens to anybody. He got taken down almost immediately. He got his guard just sliced right through, and then he got submitted. Boom. Fairly simple match, a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And the whole way back, he just kept talking about how that, excuse after excuse. And like, first off, we've all had a whole day of grappling. Only one person is running this match over in their head over and over again, and that's him. So we're not even thinking about it. And he's making excuses about this match that wasn't close. Like, like he didn't get his guard going, or if he could have just had a better grip when it started. Like, no. And it's not something you say to a teammate, but as a teammate, don't be that person that is the entire drive home making excuses for why a match didn't go well. Absorb that loss, and then use that loss as one of Michael Jordan's missed shots or lost games or whatever, and move on from it. Patch the holes or patch the spots underneath your fence that are getting dug underneath, and work on being better. But the only person who was really upset by that match was him. Like, we'd all like him to win, but it was just like amazing to have him try to make excuses and justify what happened. And it's just like, no, the other person was a better grappler. Like, that's what happened. There's no excuse. Like, sometimes you get mismatched. Maybe it should have been a different belt division, like maybe that was part of the problem. But like, people don't care to hear excuses anyway. Try to be that teammate that is like, man, that was a rough match. Like, I got taken apart there, and I guess I got to work on my guard retention a little bit better, or something like that, and then drop it and have a good rest of the time. People, it's hard to coach somebody who's full of excuses as well.
So I'm curious, Byron, how's that guy doing on jiu-jitsu today?
I would say absent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, honestly, that's the road to quitting. Actually, I think.
Yeah.
And
you'd be talking about being in a road trip with me for 4 or 5 hours. That road.
I'd quit too. Yeah. No, but if you put too much pressure on yourself, you make too many excuses. You have to win. That can be a recipe for quitting. And I was putting too much pressure on myself earlier in my career. And, that's when I said I had to talk with Byron. And, once I realized that I didn't have to follow the path that I read on the interwebs, I can just do whatever I want and just have fun. And that kept me going. Otherwise, I guarantee you, if for some reason Byron and I didn't have that talk, I would not be training today. I would I bet I wouldn't be training. I bet I'd be one of the casualties also, and regret it. I'd probably be right now listening to your podcast, regretting that I quit 15 years ago.
This wouldn't be here without you, Gary. This podcast
it would
is here.
Be a lot better podcast.
Yeah, that's true. No, but I mean, if you want to think about the origin of the podcast, is us standing in the parking lot after the gym is closed and it's getting dark, and we just talking about jiu-jitsu before we each go home. Like, man, it'd be kind of fun to record this and to share it, and to, not that we were saying anything particularly great at the time or now, but just, it was just, we really enjoyed talking about jiu-jitsu after jiu-jitsu class. So.
I'll tell you a true story. This
will be a
Byron
change.
Talks about it. No, this Byron's talking about a podcast. I have no freaking clue what a podcast is, and never listened to one in my life. And he's also like, "Yeah, we'll just talk about jiu-jitsu." And I will tell you this: I was like, "I don't want to do this," but you know what I did? Byron's my buddy. He's done so much for me. I can't let him down. That's exactly what went through my head. I'll do it. And really, that's 100% what it was.
Here we are today, still pulling on that string.
Yeah. Byron's
Come
making
on,
my
buddy.
arms move, telling me what to do.
Teasing you.
But I mean, you build those friendships, you build those strong bonds, and you're there to help each other out. Like, we're not just training partners, Like, I know Joe lives in Houston. I guarantee you, if I said, "Man, I'm in trouble, I need something," Joe would be there in a second if he could, and I would do the same for Joe. I know Byron would do the same also.
We're podcasters, Gary. It runs deep.
We need to get a shirt. PTT, Podcasting Top Team.
Oh.
But Gary brings up a good point about the supporting one another and the teamwork and the camaraderie. We've got a listener of the show, Mindy Ashby. You guys know who she is.
Sure, yeah. Met her.
Yep.
Yeah, so she hit me up a couple weeks ago, said she's looking at coming down to Texas and making a trip. She does Athena's Armor, which is a female, a woman's advocacy group. She does self-defense training, firearms training. Said she's coming down to Houston. Can I hook her up with somebody? And I hooked her up with a friend of mine that is also part of that community. She's a Girls in Gi representative. And it's everybody working together, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yep, I saw you share her post, so you just think a little share like that, how far it gets around. I saw it. I saw she replied back to you, and, it's great things we all do, for our teammates, for our friends, for our family.
Yep. That's one of the cool things about doing a podcast, not just jiu-jitsu, but you get to reach out a little bit more sometimes, and that's pretty fun. Get that email. That's cool, Joe. Joe, your number 10 here is kind of up your alley. Train hard, train smart, get better. Number 10 is practice. Practice.
So right now, you have to throw in the Allen Iverson clip about practice real quick.
Practice? You're talking about practice. Yeah. So, it's true though. When you get to that intermediate stage in jiu-jitsu, I think it's easy to embrace the open mats and embrace the free rolling part of the class. And I think that's good. We all really enjoy it, but I really think that practice, drilling individual techniques, individual movements. I mean, I think Michael Jordan, well into his career, was still practicing free throws. And I think that's something to consider.
I will consider that, Joe.
Consider it wisely, my friend.
No, it's still practice, basic escapes, still practice your basic submission, I always like it when somebody who is one of the advanced students shows up at a beginner class and they're like, I'm just here to rehammer these in and to get some more practice. This is we all have things. Very few of us are professional jiu-jitsu players. So we have jobs and other responsibilities out there. Like, this is my time I could train today. I'm here to practice. And yeah, it may not be the advanced class for the purple belt, but they show up and they work super hard and they show that work ethic to all the new students in the beginner class or fundamentals class. That's awesome. That's not just good for them, which it is good for them. It's good for everybody to see that. And it's contagious. Just like COVID. Why do I keep bringing that up?
Unless you wear 2 masks.
Yeah. and a double weave gi.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The old Howard double weave combat kimono.
Oh my God! Didn't those things last forever?
They're all still in existence today.
I still have one.
You call him up and he'll help you out. So that kind of wraps up the top 10, the 10 tips from Michael Jordan, a basketball player extraordinaire. We're calling it here, guys. He's probably definitely in the top group of guys there.
Joe.
Yeah, what's up, Gary?
Would you say he's the best player that you've ever seen?
I would actually. I'd say if he didn't play baseball for 2 years, he'd have 8 championships.
Yeah, I agree that, in my opinion, he's the best I've seen. I never saw, Wilt. I never saw, Oscar Robinson.
You saw him play ball like live? Is that what you're saying? In your generation.
Actually, I did see him play live, but in our generation.
Did you have to guard him?
So like, I don't think I could. I'm close. But, you just hear today, the LeBron versus Michael, comparisons. And, me and Joe, we've been around through both those. And, I think LeBron's a just incredible player. Kobe's incredible player. But for me, it was Jordan.
I think Kobe rivaled Jordan more than LeBron does, just in the way Kobe embraced the big moments, always wanted the ball when the game was on the line, and he just worked so god dang hard. I'll also say that Magic Johnson got HIV and his career was short.
We didn't get to see it. Yep.
Yeah, I think Magic Johnson could have been the greatest player of all times.
Yep. And you look at all three of those guys, and they had the desire to outwork everybody, to outplay everybody.
Yep.
Kobe was also, probably even more legendary for his work ethic than Michael was, which, that's, incredible to be more legendary in that on work ethic.
Yep.
We talk about Michael Jordan's influence on the team. How do the other guys, are they quite as influential on motivating the team and getting the team to perform as a well-oiled machine, as they say?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because Kobe Bryant had Shaq, who was arguably the best big man in the game, and Jordan, he really didn't have any.
He didn't really have. Yeah, he didn't.
Scottie Pippen was good. He had some good players, but man, he elevated guys.
Yeah, he had. He had some guys, Steve Kerr, Paxson, Cartwright, that wouldn't have been as good players without him.
You would know who Cartwright was.
Yeah,
Cartwright didn't play
That's
with
true.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, but I don't mean to put them down because they really relished their role. They figured it out. Hey, let's set a pick for Michael. Let's pop. Kerr and Paxson. They're like, hey, we're going to wait till Michael goes to the hole. He's going to take my guy with him, and I'm just going to stick here behind the three-point line and get a wide-open shot when they double him.
Yep, that all makes sense to me, Gary. And Cartwright, I would not know who he was either way.
You haven't seen, what's that?
Big Valley or the Bonanza or whatever.
Yeah, Bonanza, Haas Cartwright.
No, but you know what? That comes back to the mats in that I might not ever be a champion. Well, actually, I know I will never be any kind of champion, but
you're my champion.
Yeah.
But I train with guys who are competitive and they do compete, and I give rounds to them. Like we train for their improvement, and I feel like I'm a part of what they do, and I think that's kind of what the Cartwrights did and the Steve Kerrs did, and that they were never going to be Michael Jordan, but they were going to be a part of his success.
Great point.
Yeah. So we have let me give a quick mention. If you want to support the podcast, go to Patreon. There's a link in the show notes or on the website to our Patreon page. I'll mail you out a 5-inch BjjBrick gi patch and a sticker. And it just has tokens of our appreciation. You could support us like a certain amount per episode. Most supporters are supporting us $1 an episode. We're cranking out a rapid 1 episode a month. That most people are supporting us for $1 a month. And at the time we used to do an episode every week, it's kind of a lean time right now for the podcast. we're paying our web hosting and stuff like that with that, and that's about what we're doing. So any
Byron,
support is greatly appreciated.
You say lean time. I don't know if you've seen me post-COVID.
We do have a question here. I'll throw it out there. Gary, do you have that?
No, I don't, Byron. I
Joe?
feel like the kid whose dog ate his homework.
So this is from Lisa Carr. Is she a fleet manager? I don't know what a fleet manager is, but she says, I am the smallest person in class. Which techniques are good for my size? Now, I have never been the smallest person in class, so I'm going to pass this off to Byron.
It kind of depends on where you're starting. If you have a few favorite techniques already, that's cool. I always urge people who have that size disadvantage, as far as being the smaller grappler, work to getting the back. So many of the advantages of the stronger player are just neutralized when you're on their back. So it might look like a guard. You're working your guard because that's usually where the smaller player ends up, and you, instead of sweeping, you end up taking the back from the guard. Versus a lot of back takes are going to be from the top position, and if it's just hard to get there from a top position, that may not be in your system. At this point, so you can work a sweep game, but that's not accomplishing getting the back, and then you end up in somebody's guard, and their legs is as big as you are, or you can't maintain a mount or side control very well with somebody who could easily just lift you off of them and create that space. So yeah, I'm a big fan of, if I'm grappling somebody who's got me by 60 pounds, I'm trying to take their back. and I remembered seeing John Danaher comment about answering the similar thing, and his answer was about leg attacks. And I remember Ryan Hall saying something about that. Like, leg attacks are a technical game. It's not so much a strength game. You're trying to gain a technical position and where you could finish. And if John Danaher says leg attacks are the biggest equalizer for a small person, that's probably the case. If your gym doesn't train a lot of leg attacks, well, then the back is. If your gym doesn't train the backs, working from the back, it's not a jiu-jitsu gym. But your leg attack game might be frowned upon.
Can you imagine going into a gym and there's the rules and it says no taking the back?
That's crazy. Gary, anything to add on that one?
I agree with you. I would say taking the back, trying to get yourself in an advantageous position where size and strength doesn't matter as much. And point two is you can never go wrong with what John Danaher says.
Yeah. Attacking those legs, it does. Gary can attest to this. I mean, when someone's much stronger than you, if you're doing a leg attack exchange, is their strength as big of a factor?
See, I've never ran into anybody stronger than me.
Therein lies the problem. Where you hang out and who you grapple with at the grade school.
I don't know. I think a couple of these grade schoolers would probably be stronger than me.
Some of them are starting to shave already, Gary. Be careful. They're getting strong. So, yep, that's that. If you have a question for us, send it in. Thanks, Lisa, for that one. And we're always looking for questions. BjjBrick@gmail.com would be the easy email to send to there. And just in the title, you type question for the show. We'll know that you want it to be aired, and I'll immediately send it out to the guys, and they can have a heads up on it. And if it's one about...
Did you send it out to me?
Being the oldest grappler... No, I just put it in the show notes. But if I did send it out to you, Gary, then you would definitely have it in front of you. So, anyways, my man, gentlemen.
Anyway, train hard, train smart, and get better, guys.
And don't forget to shower.
Keep your wiener dog on the fence, right?
It's a good show.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You can visit our website at BjjBrick.com for more good times. Swing by and like our Facebook page. Our email is bjjbrick@gmail.com.